Hey, welcome back to our channel. On today's video, do you believe fake news? So today I'm going to give you guys some trivia questions and you're going to vote between these two cities and tell me which one you think has a higher murder rate. And I don't want any cheating on this. You can write down one by one what your answer was, or you can say I got 3 out of 6 correct. But no cheating, and it's okay if you get the wrong answer. I asked my wife these questions, and she got a few of them wrong. And she's been with me all the time while we're doing our videos, traveling to places. So it's okay if your answers are wrong. Now, after you watch the video and you get the right information, from that point forward, it's your choice if you want to believe facts or if you want to continue listening to Fox News or CNN or whoever the crap is putting this garbage in your head. I only eat out of blue garbage cans. Well, I only eat out of red garbage cans. I guess we can't be friends, can we? Because we eat out of different garbage cans. They'll throw anything inside the blue garbage can, but the red garbage can it's old stuff in there. And guys, if you want to know why I would use murder rates, the answer is very simple. Murder rates are very difficult to conceal. On the other hand, auto break-ins, burglaries, a lot of these cities are definitely going to ignore these crimes, maybe not take police reports, or maybe the police is so ineffective that people know not even to report these crimes. So it's really difficult to compare crime indexes and expect an accurate result, since a lot of cities have ineffective police departments. Some cities are so ineffective, people don't even waste their time reporting a crime. However, murder rates have to be counted, have to be tracked, and well, there's nothing a city can do to change that. You even have some cities that have made certain types of illicit activity legal in order to make their city seem like it's got less crime on paper, because after all, if it's not on paper, it doesn't exist. That's why I overlook crime indexes entirely. Take the city of Charlotte, North Carolina, where people that live there think it's the safest city because they have very low crime indexes. Well, it turns out if you dial 911 in Charlotte, North Carolina, which by the way, I've had to do more than once, even though I've only been there a few times, you find out that, oh wait, that's not even a crime in this city. In Charlotte, North Carolina, the police will only come out if there's an imminent threat to life. So go figure, if you're doing a crime that isn't an imminent threat to life, like just robbing somebody and then leaving, at that point, there's no reason to even call the cops. That makes perfect sense. Alright guys, so the first trivia question is, which city has a higher murder rate? The first city is Savannah, Georgia. As we know, Savannah, Georgia is a fast-growing city on the water with beautiful historic neighborhoods, and they are putting in one of the largest projects in the United States, an auto manufacturing plant right outside the city. This area is growing tremendously. On the other hand, we're going to compare it to Sacramento, California. We've all heard that California, people are leaving the state, there's a lot of crime. And let's not forget, of course, homelessness, what California is known for, right? So Savannah, Georgia, a prosperous growing city in the south, or Sacramento, California, yuck, right? Which one of these two cities has a higher murder rate? I'll give you a few seconds to go down in the comment section and tell me what you think. The murder rate in Sacramento, California is 7 out of 100,000, which is about the US average. Savannah, Georgia, it is 14 out of 100,000, meaning that you're almost twice as likely to get murdered in Savannah, Georgia than you are in Sacramento, California. However, the narrative is that Savannah is a fast-growing city and that Sacramento is a horrible place, but the facts are different. Alright, trivia question number 2. Which city has a higher murder rate? San Francisco, California, or St. Petersburg, Florida? Florida, the retirement of everybody. Everybody's moving to Florida, right? Well, California, San Francisco, oh, everybody's leaving San Francisco. It's out of control, right? Both of these cities are known for having a big bridge. They're both on the water. They have a lot of things in common geographically. But which one has a higher murder rate? Yes, which one of these cities will actually be more likely to kill you? Let me hear your response. St. Petersburg versus San Francisco. Both of these cities are very safe, but one of them is more dangerous. San Francisco, the murder rate is 6 per 100,000. In St. Petersburg, Florida, the murder rate is 7 per 100,000, which means that San Francisco is just slightly safer than St. Petersburg, but it's still safer. What was your answer? And does the answer surprise you, considering, again, the narrative that they're pushing? With so many realtors promoting the state of Florida and so many bad things being said about San Francisco, if it was really all that bad, wouldn't San Francisco be the city with the highest murder rate? After all, what crime is more legit than whacking somebody? All right, our next trivia question. We're going to be comparing Tampa, Florida to Los Angeles, California. Which one of these two cities has a higher murder rate? Los Angeles, we know from media and everything we've heard that it's a gang-infected city where people are breaking into cars. Their famous Skid Row with thousands of homeless people on the streets. That would never happen in Tampa. Oh, in Tampa, we have the sports teams. We have the beaches. It's so... YouTubers are moving here. What do you guys think? Is Tampa, Florida, or Los Angeles going to be having a higher murder rate? The city of Los Angeles, its murder rate is 7 per 100,000. That's about the national average. The city of Tampa, Florida, however, the murder rate is 10 per 100,000, slightly above the national average. So we can see that Tampa, Florida has a higher murder rate than Los Angeles. You may not hear too many negative things being said about Tampa. In fact, I live in the Tampa metropolitan area, and I've been to Los Angeles, and I can tell you that for sure there's a few specific places in Tampa that are definitely as gang, homeless, and crime-ridden as anywhere in Los Angeles. Now imagine if Tampa, Florida was about 10 times bigger to be about the size of Los Angeles, how worse those areas that are bad in Tampa would be. Imagine if the bad neighborhoods in Tampa just happen to be about 10 times bigger in volume. Then you can comprehend how these numbers make sense. All right, guys, so the next question, I hope you get this one right. We're going to be looking at Nashville, Tennessee, right? Music City, one of the most vibrant cities in the South. Music, nightlife. We all know Nashville is one of the best cities in the United States. People are moving here like crazy from all over the country. In particular, people are leaving California to move to Nashville. The Mid-South is an economic powerhouse right now, and Nashville is the hub of that economic flow. Traffic is incredibly bad as people commute in and out of the Nashville area. It's a beautiful city, and it's expensive since, of course, everybody wants to live in Nashville. But how does Nashville compare to, let's say, Oakland, California? That's the most dangerous city on the West Coast. What good thing could possibly come from Oakland, California? It's hard to even come up with a positive narrative for Oakland, California. There's no way Nashville is actually more dangerous than Oakland, California, right? Like, how could, here's this prosperous city in the South, in the middle of the hub of the economy of the East Coast, comparing it to Oakland, California, the most dangerous city on the West Coast, right? Which one's worst? The answer to this one is going to surprise you, okay? Nashville and Oakland, California have just about exactly the same exact murder rate. But Nashville's murder rate is 1/100% higher than Oakland, California. If that's not the craziest thing you've ever heard, I don't know what is. And I've been to both cities. I would have guessed for sure Oakland, California. Unfortunately, Nashville, Tennessee, despite all its growth and all the good things that are happening in Nashville, actually has a huge crime and a murder problem. The murder problem in Nashville is on par with Oakland, California. And don't get me wrong, I love Nashville, Tennessee. If I had to pick between living in Nashville and Oakland, I guarantee you I would be living in Nashville. It's a city that I love, but I will be the first to admit that I am aware it has a crapload of crime. Fact, Nashville, Tennessee's murder rate right now is actually on par with cities like Louisville, Kentucky, and Oakland, California, despite those two cities having way worse analytics in other categories and way worse perception. Crap, if I had to pick between Louisville and Nashville, the clear answer is Nashville. But facts are facts, and Nashville, Tennessee is now on par with Oakland, California, despite all the great things this city has going for it. Talking about things that are hard to believe, New Orleans is again the murder capital of the United States in the most recent analytics. It's bypassed St. Louis and Detroit. However, I feel very comfortable going to New Orleans. It's another city that it may have a huge murder problem, but I like to go there, and I know it's dangerous, but I still like the city. Interestingly though, Baton Rouge, right down the road, is analytically safer by murder rate, and I do not like going to Baton Rouge. It never feels safe. So sometimes your perception versus the reality can be very confusing. Take the city of Birmingham, Alabama. It appears on the surface to be a very safe city. You don't see people hanging out. You don't see none of that bad stuff. Yeah, it's run down, but it doesn't look dangerous. However, it's one of the most dangerous cities in the country. The first few times I went to Birmingham, I really couldn't believe that it was one of the most dangerous cities in the country. And then since I lived in that metropolitan area right outside of it for about a year, I went there quite often. And after seeing a body or two here and there, you're like, oh yeah, no wonder people don't hang out outside. So yeah, don't let appearances fool you. Take, for example, San Francisco, California, where there are dealers on the street corners. I walked by with my camera and the dealers ran away. They didn't know what to do because I was recording in their selling spot. But try that in a city like Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and I guarantee you I would be a missing person case right about now. All right, guys, our next trivia question, we're going to pin up Indianapolis, Indiana to Seattle, Washington. As we all know, Seattle, Washington has become known lately for a lot of bad things, from the downtown being taken over by criminals, homelessness quite literally everywhere, making entire camp cities right in the middle of the city. It's atrocious what's happening in Seattle, Washington, but are they really willing to whack you? Meanwhile, this little suburb called Carmel, Indiana, just to the north of Indianapolis, is said to be the fourth safest city in the United States, and that's right outside of Indianapolis. So what do you guys think? Is Indianapolis more dangerous than Seattle, Washington? Let me hear your thoughts and opinions, and I'll give you guys the answer. The murder rate in Seattle, Washington is less than 4 per 100,000, way below the national average. However, Indianapolis, Indiana's murder rate is almost 18 per 100,000, which means you are at least 4 times more likely to be killed in Indianapolis than you are in Seattle, Washington. That may be shocking to a lot of people since you hear so many positive things being preached about Indianapolis, Indiana, right? But the reality is, however, that despite all of the good, positive energy they're putting out about Indianapolis and all the horrible things you hear about Seattle, when you look at the real murder numbers, Indianapolis is a much more dangerous city. In fact, you would even think with all the horrible things you hear about Seattle, they would at least be above the national average. And the national average isn't just for cities. That includes rural communities. It includes the entire country. Seattle, Washington is actually below the national average. Now, if you're moving to these cities, Seattle is one of the most expensive cities in the country for a reason. And there's a reason why Indianapolis is a less attractive place to move to when it comes to safety. But if you look at the economics of it, It's actually one of the best places to live when you compare your income versus housing costs. But that's not the only thing you need to look at when you move to a city, because there are cities, Indianapolis, Kansas City, great housing costs to income ratios. But let me tell you, there is so much more that you need to look at before moving somewhere. Moving somewhere simply because the housing versus income scenario is more appropriate is one of the biggest mistakes you're ever going to make in your lifetime. I made that mistake when I moved to Alabama. Well, I'm moving from an expensive South Florida to one of the cheapest places in the country. I'm going to get a big house with some land. I'm going to make a lot of money. Dude, you're about to make the mistake of your lifetime, a mistake that I personally made. So don't just look at housing costs versus income. There's a reason why even during a housing crunch, nobody wanted to move to Montgomery, Alabama. And I found that lesson out the hard way. And that's why I try to teach people information like this so they can make wise decisions. If you choose the option of just housing costs versus income, I'm going to go to the cheapest place I can, you're going to be in for the nightmare of a lifetime, because there's a reason that place is affordable. And when you look at big cities that are expensive, oh, there's a reason those cities are expensive as well, because they have better safety and other great things to offer. We're living in the age of internet technology. There's no hidden gem place nobody's heard about. Everything's been discovered, everything's been seen, and everything's been appraised accordingly. If you've lived in a small town and you have a very narrow mindset, you may not understand why somebody would want to live in San Francisco, Miami, or Seattle, but that's because your mindset is narrow. You have to really travel, meet different people, and understand that there's people out there that want to accomplish something in their life, not just live in a trailer and die next to their good old bulldog Ray down there. The notion of country living is beautiful. Hey, I even sold everything I had to try to make that dream a reality, and it turned into a nightmare. And even today, I live in a beautiful city next to the beach, and now I still dream about living in the country. But I realize that there's perception, there's the fantasies in your brain, and then there's the reality of things, which is sometimes very far from the things we idolize. All right, guys, so finally, the last trivia question. Is Portland, Oregon below or above the national average? But I'm not going to give you that answer. I want you guys, you in the comment section, to actually go out there and find the answer to the last trivia question. I'm not going to give you this last one. Portland, Oregon, is it above or below the national average? Did you guys have fun during today's video? I really hope you did. And if you didn't, then you're a bitter old fart who hates the truth.